2, 3.
I'm not lying. Oh, they beautiful.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
I'm your host, Garrett Dumbbell, and you're watching The Late Late Show.
Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are joining me tonight to discuss life after the...
Really nice meeting you guys.
Have you ever wondered what happens when the unthinkable collides with the unexpected in a courtroom filled with Hollywood's finest? Have you ever questioned how a world-renowned actor, known for battling on screen, becomes a witness to a darker side of fame that few dare to speak of?
Why aren't we getting any photos or videos from inside the Diddy trial? And why is there no daily video feed the way there was with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case? That's because...
Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. This video is made for educational and entertainment purposes only. The air hung heavy as Jack Nicholson, a legend of cinema and a figure rarely glimpsed in public, took the stand on day 17 of the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial. And what unfolded was nothing short of jaw-dropping. Audiences held their breath, reporters scribbled furiously, and every reaction in that room shifted when Jack began to speak. This is the tale that stunned a courtroom and rippled through Hollywood's gilded facade.
Why aren't we getting any photos or videos from inside the Diddy trial? And why is there no daily video feed the way there was with the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case? That's because...
The courtroom was a stage, but this time the script was unscripted and the stakes were higher than any film set could muster. Jack Nicholson, leaning on a cane and wearing tinted glasses, looked every bit the icon he once was, yet his posture betrayed a weight far heavier than mere age. He cleared his throat, and in that instant, decades of history, whispers of power, and secrets carved deep into his soul were about to be laid bare. A hush fell. Even the air seemed to pause. Red seats, dark wood, and marble columns felt inadequate to contain the tension that crackled like a live wire through every seat.
Diddy's being tried in federal court here in New York City. And in federal court, generally speaking, there are no cameras or electronic devices allowed inside.
Recollections from the early 2000s flickered in Jack's mind like old film reels. He spoke of nights when he was younger, when fame still felt like a novelty rather than a burden. Back then, Diddy's rise was meteoric, a supernova in a sky already crowded with stars. Jack described mansions hidden among hills and retreats on sandy shores where the laughter flowed as freely as the whiskey. Names like Tom Hanks, Al Pacino, and George Clooney echoed in his tale, each a testament to the circles Diddy's influence drew around him.
Now, a select few journalists are allowed to have a device, but they can only use them while they listen in the press room, not the courtroom. That means our only look...
It all began with Diddy's trust baths, a phrase that sounded absurd until the full context crushed any hint of humor. Jack painted a picture of an enormous marble tub inside a Beverly Hills estate, steamy and opulent, an invitation extended to the elite under the guise of camaraderie. 20 men would gather, naked beneath rising vapors, cigars clenched between teeth, and conversations would drift from idle gossip to deeper confession. The theatrics were supposed to shatter egos, foster unity. Instead, they laid the groundwork for something far more sinister. Silence, as Jack revealed, was the price of admission. Once bodies slipped into the steaming water, there was no escape, not without consequences. On that point, Jack's voice faltered. He admitted he couldn't fathom what those consequences might be until much later, when innocence evaporated like steam in the night air. He tried to recall the first sign that things were awry. He said it was the evening Tom Hanks rose from the bath, wrapped a towel around himself, and vanished without explanation. That was the night Jack realized that power often masks malice.
Look at Diddy inside will be through courtroom sketch artists. Access to some of the evidence in this case will also be quite difficult because of the sensitive nature.
Names began to blur. Pacino, Clooney, Jamie Foxx, even Jeff Bridges. Some stayed, others left, drawn by fear or intuition. Jack described the relentless rhythm of rules in that bath. No speaking, no distractions, only a hypnotic loop of slow jazz whispering through hidden speakers. Drifting incense scented the air with cedar and an unidentifiable chemical sting that made drowsiness a constant threat. The candlelit haze became a battleground for wills, where bodies tangled under the pretense of unity, but hearts pounded with uncertainty. One night, Jack recounted, the bath morphed into something resembles a cruel play. Men he thought he knew suddenly turned into actors in a twisted drama, engaging with each other as though following a script. There was no passion, no genuine desire, only a chilling choreography that left Jack's skin crawling. He wanted out. He stood, his tall frame trembling, and announced he was done. But before his foot could clear the tub's edge, Diddy emerged. water dripping from his chest, eyes unblinking. Up close, Jack saw the cold shimmer in those eyes. In a quiet voice, Diddy said, "If you ever speak of this, you will regret it." No raised fist, no shouted threat, just an icy statement delivered as fact. That moment shattered Jack's world. He spoke about it on the stand with a raw honesty that left everyone in the courthouse stunned. He admitted that from that night onward, fear became a constant companion. Paranoia crept into his days, haunted him into his nights. He slept with doors bolted, lights blazing, every shadow a reminder of what lurked beyond comfort. He turned down film roles that would have been the envy of actors half his age. Fearing visibility meant vulnerability, and vulnerability meant danger.
Of the sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors are asking that some of the evidence be viewable only to the jury. Now, our team at NBC News will have one person.
Gifts arrived, innocent at first. Rolexes, bottles of scotch, hand-signed notes. But context twisted them into instruments of coercion. They served as reminders that silence could be bought, that refusal might be met with retribution. Worse still were the unmarked visits. A stranger lingering outside Jack's home at 3 in the morning, standing silent, looking up through iron gates until Jack's glare sent him scuttling into the darkness. That moment signaled the reach of Diddy's influence, a chilling testament to the lengths his network would go to maintain control. Jack's testimony unspooled like a dark tapestry through the courtroom, each thread revealing a new horror. He described an Oscar after-party in 2013 where Diddy cornered him in a dimly lit side room. With a grip tight enough to bruise but not break, he whispered, "We're still good, right? You're not trying to make a name off my shadow, are you?" Laughter bubbled from Jack's lips then, a brittle sound. Inside, however...
Controversial trial. Amber, you look happy. Did you win the lottery? 50 million.
The gallery watched as Jack's eyes glazed with memories he would rather forget. He talked about watching Diddy ascend higher with every golden trophy he cradled, every speech he delivered. All the while, Jack's past glories felt hollow in comparison to the dread that surrounded him. The man who once reveled in portraying monsters on screen now found himself haunted by the real thing. He reached for therapy, for isolation, even for psychedelic escapes in desert landscapes, but none could expel the specter that clung to him. A turning point arrived when Jack discovered a way to wrest control back: documentation. He began chronicling every interaction, every whisper, every unsettling moment that piled up in his mind like landmines. He constructed what he called his red file, a dossier containing handwritten notes, dates, details about unsolicited visits, late-night calls, and ominous threats left casually under his gate. He brought photocopies of these pages to court and offered them to the clerk. Each page was a declaration of resistance, a refusal to let Diddy's darkness be buried with silence.
$? Well, then it makes sense that you're happy. You can now afford to pay Johnny for defamation.
Shocking.
The court sat in rapture as Jack described the psychological toll of living under constant threat. He admitted nights were worst of all. Cold sweats, hypervigilance, sleep fractured into terrified awakenings at every sound, doors bolted with extra locks, lights burned through the night. The fortress meant nothing if the mind remained prisoner to doubt. He spoke of questioning his own sanity, convinced that perhaps the bath wasn't as sinister as he remembered, that he had imagined threats that never existed. But sanity, he said, was precisely what they wanted to rob from him. Jack's career suffered. He turned down screenplays that shimmered with promise, roles that would have guaranteed his legacy. It was as if stepping into the limelight again would reopen wounds he had not yet healed.
Just easy.
Any movies coming out soon? Shh, I'm asking Johnny, Amber. And by the way, I would have been...
He came close to writing a memoir in 2014, only to abandon it after a late-night call. "Be careful, Jack," the voice whispered. A simple phrase, yet potent enough to shatter his resolve. At a charity event in 2016, a young actor approached him, eyes alight with excitement over a Diddy party invitation. The actor spoke of the promise of fame and how it felt like an honor. Jack froze, the sight of eager youth igniting a sorrow that cut deeper than fear. He saw the trap through the actor's eyes, the shiny dream masking a cage. He wept that night, not for himself, but for the young soul he almost saw ensnared.
So Johnny, how's your life been after the trial?
Just cool. Just easy.
Jack looked defiantly at Diddy's defense table as he made his vow. "I know what I saw. I know what you did. No amount of fame, money, or intimidation will ever silence me again." The courtroom gasped. He recounted how he once saw Tom Hanks leave barefoot in the dead of night, as though some inner alarm had sounded. Jack refused to elaborate on what might have occurred, insisting that words spoken in hushed tones should remain the other man's truth to tell. But that look in Hank's eyes mirrored Jack's own terror. Further chilling details emerged as Jack described counseling a younger actor who nearly vanished from Hollywood after a skiing retreat in Aspen turned into something more like an initiation ceremony. The actor's descent into fear was swift. He walked away from the industry, leaving behind a budding career. Jack regretted he could not save him, but he offered warning. "If you value your life, walk away now." That unnamed actor's career faded into obscurity, a ghost that haunted Jack's memories.
So Johnny, how's your life been after the trial?
Just cool. Just easy.
Jack's narrative moved through time until it reached 2020, when a voicemail arrived that defied interpretation. Distorted voice, chilling message. The bathhouse never closed. He spelled out how that phrase screamed of a network that persisted, a system that thrived in shadows. He considered destroying the red file, burning evidence that might doom him. But then he saw news reports of arrests and investigations that hinted at the empire's cracks. He realized his testimony might help shatter a cycle of brutality. Silence, he said, protected not only the powerful, but the entire machine they built. He urged the jury to consider why people like him stayed quiet for so long. Fear of ridicule, of being labeled delusional, of simply being washed away by the tide of celebrity. Age was his ally at last. Hollywood ignores what it no longer finds profitable. Once you're past your prime, you're disposable, he said bitterly. Yet fear, he noted, also ages, and his had grown old and weary.
In the press room is going to provide a feed that we'll use for live updates on our website. A few of us will also be going into the courtroom throughout the trial, but those of us who do will be restricted to pen and...
In the end, Jack Nicholson reminded everyone that courage does not come from fame or fortune, but from a willingness to speak truth in the face of fear. His stand on day 17 was not just a testimony, it was a rallying cry to all who had been silenced. A testament that even legends can fall and rise again, armed with nothing but their voice. If this story has moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, spread awareness, and stand up for those who cannot. If you want more in-depth takes on stories like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. Your support keeps us digging deeper and telling the stories that matter.